Welcome back everyone to the Hanseatic Dreamland, and welcome to one of the bestest makeovers, like you see on screen right now, that I've done to date. I'm super excited to bring you today's episode because it may look not really that exciting, yet it is, because we are going to turn this simple area into something really cool, and also we set sails to what the series is going to be. At the end of today's video, I'm going to tell you what the next steps are going to be, which is going to be very exciting. I'm sure you will like this, but first of all, as always, let's quickly talk about Instant Gaming, the sponsor of our channel. You can get games, DLCs, pre-orders, and even in-game currencies, just like the PlayStation money and so on, for a very good value. And you can have everything like customer support and stuff, all good, and you can find any game you basically wish to, also all DLCs and all favorite stuff you want to have for your gaming pleasure. I highly recommend just checking out the link every now and then. They always have good offers to weekends and blah blah. So make sure you make yourself comfortable and have a look what they have in store for you. Now, back to the build. So as the first part of this video is called the content, I want to quickly talk about what I was putting in this area. Now, this area is relatively complicated because there is not really that much going on in here that I wanted to have to take away from the other big stars. So I decided to go for this kind of moonshot, whatever thingy that is. The kind of, is it a free fall? Is it a shoot tower? I have no idea how that thing is called. I've certainly not been on one of these things in real life as well. But we also had this helter-skelter kind of slide just sitting around there, ever so boring and untouched and so on. That's gonna receive a full makeover as well. And there were barely any fences in here, and you know, it was all just a big concrete area, almost like a parking lot with a couple of rides on, which really wasn't that nice. I just threw a bit of foliage in there just to make it look a bit nicer from the distance, but now it was all about making sure what I want to put in here. So the first good hour went into making sure that I know where everything sits. I made a little connection in between, put in another pathway leading up towards this ride. I decided to make the queue area intentionally behind the normal way to walk. You'll see that in the real-time part. It's relatively important to see. I thought a lot about, you know, movement and the overall layout of the park, making sure that with the given guest AI, let me call it that way, I make the most of the situation. You'll see later on what I mean if you see them actually moving around. I'm very happy that Frontier already said they're going to work on the guest navigation AI. Basically, they have to. But also you can see I put a shop in here because I certainly feel like we have way too little shops in this entire area. Like, I've got this little kiosk that's gonna be replaced into this area as well. Or actually, I should say copied over. It's not gonna be replaced. It's gonna be placed in here yet again. So I'm gonna copy it over. Honestly, in this project, I'm gonna build more things that will be reused later on, simply because I feel like that this is the most clever way of doing it when it comes to ensuring you have a consistent way of building and a consistent way how the overall architecture looks. Usually I wouldn't do this in like themed areas, but this Hanseatic Dreamland obviously has a completely different approach on doing things. So we are not having certainly themed areas, at least not for now, as like a little bit of a teaser. But you know, it's for the better to have a park that has a consistent feel, and so I'm building some things in with the future in mind. And today's episode will potentially be the biggest episode when it comes to building things that we will be using somewhere else, such as that little shop over here. Also, part of the idea is that this whole project is a combination of making sure that actually making or turning an actual abandoned harbor area into a theme park, but obviously this harbor area would have been optimized for like cargo and logistics, while a theme park isn't, and so we have to turn it over into something that is way more theme park-esque. And this is why some of these buildings over here obviously are not permanent buildings. They are, you know, pop-up buildings or anything like that. So let's talk about the area, shall we? Because I do think that this is relatively important to really talk about what I have in mind. Now, for those of you who've been following the season for now, or like this whole project for now, also, by the way, do me a favor, if you haven't watched the first episode and you, for whatever reason, stumbled upon this video, make sure to watch the first episode. We are just a couple of thousand views away from hitting 100K, and it's just like a minor thing, but I really love this number. Not only with the subscribers on the channel, which we finally met, but also kind of, I call it the 100K club, and I'm always happy when videos and series make it into that club. And we are just very short of doing so with the first episode of this project. But for those of you who have been there, you know what the main idea was, what the concept was, and so it was all plain and open. And I will talk about the concept a bit later in today's voiceover, because the concept is something that has a certain halfway time, I should say, until it's done for the most part, and you have to emancipate, like you have to evolve from that, and put yourself into a new direction, which is almost the point where we are at. But again, more about that in a minute. I wanted to just quickly talk about that this area in particular was made to have this lake in the center, the coaster as the star of the show, and then the big old like cargo building that holds our pool section now is also going to be the focus point. Everything that was beside it, for me personally at the beginning in my mind, was a bit like, side work and just like a bit of hygiene stuff. Is not something I had in mind actively, and now I had to make my mind up what goes in here. So I tested a whole bunch of things, and what I wanted to achieve is to make this whole area feel more theme park-esque than the whole harbor area is, but at the same time I didn't want to lose the charm of the Hamburg harbor. So a lot of brick buildings with like the typical colored roofs, and making sure that everything feels still like cargo buildings in a way, or storehouses, making sure that there is a bit of detail on these houses, not too much, making sure that these houses eventually are looking like as if they could have been here, but then again, they obviously are placed for the theme park, because as I imagine, and there is a good chance that at some point I will make a video in which I'm going to show how this whole thing has looked before the theme park has been here, because the entire layout is made with the old area in mind. It would be very simple. At the moment I'm done, I can just literally delete everything that's on the path and put just like the containers back into place where I believe they were, and put like a bit of a, logistics control area where like, trucks or so would have been driven, or even like a train, as we have it on the opposite side of the other arm from the river. You would be able to see. Now, what I wanted to do, and this is like a little fun anecdote over here. Germany, if you've been to Germany before, you know that we don't like electronic cash. We just like our cash, okay? Germans love cash, and even statistically, in Europe, Germany is the country by far with the least amount of availability of electronic cash, or like paying by card. Credit card, you don't even need to start with credit card in Germany. Like literally no one has credit card. Basically everyone has credit cards, because for some odd things you need them for, but the majority of times, like 99% of the times, credit cards do not play a role in Germany. So what you have in Germany is a super strong cash, and for me personally, I hate cash. Like honestly, it's the worst to have. I always lose it, and I also lose control over how much I have. Like here, I've got €1, I've got €2, I've that, bam, gone. It's just me being that way. And if I do have it on my app or whatever, I always know exactly, and I even get a push notification after I've paid to remind me of what I've paid. So I'm like, okay, that's it for today. You can't buy anything more. And I don't know. It's just like how I function. But what really drives me nuts is that in Germany, so many times you just can't pay electronic cash. You just can't pay by card, and even worse, you can't pay contactless. It starts with like parking lots and restaurants and imbiss, like kind of these little kiosk snack bars or whatever. The German word imbiss is like for how would you, like a fast food restaurant? I don't know, like a small restaurant kind of thing, whatever. And this is why I made this electronic cash thing custom a couple of minutes before. So sorry, I rambled for so long. You now need to go back and have a look how it actually looked like. And after that, I was building a electronic box, like making sure that we have this thing. I rarely had that. I remembered that I had this in Isla Napali, and as Isla Napali is basically the investor in this project, I was like, yeah, you need some power boxes and stuff, which is funny because obviously the game has this very mechanic in-game, which still is so odd to be talking about because it has no impact, and all these like transformers and so on, and the distributors, like I don't know, I disabled that the first second I could. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I love the idea that they're having it, but like, you could have given us some more realistic things. It's that little thing I don't get. Like, in Planet Zoo, I didn't mind it that much because usually these things would be something you put in the background anyways, like the pumps and so on. But then again, if you do this with the electricity, which hasn't been a part of it in Planet Zoo, like you had electric stuff as a transformer, but you didn't have the distributors. Like, if you do distributors, like, make it as if they were realistic, I guess. Like, give us these electricity boxes and so on. That would be super realistic. Let us place, like, even on rides, let us put electricity boxes on the on scaffolding or on the additional supports or whatever on the coaster, because realistically they are there. So would have been nice to have it, and so I decided to build one myself, and I have to remember to put all these things on the workshop. So if I'm a good camel, at the end of the episode you'll have all these things I'm building today in my workshop. You can find them. I'm going to put all these codes in the description below. You should also follow me if you haven't already in the workshop, so you will see when I have new releases, because I'm stupid and I will always forget about mentioning it. And then I did a bit of a whoopsie here. Like, usually what I thought it's going to happen is that I'm going to build this box a bit bigger and then I'm going to scale it down. But eventually, this is not the way to go in this game. I think you really have to scale the pieces to what you need them to be from the get-go, and you already need to build in scale, because there are so many pieces that don't share the exact same scaling range. Some of them can only go from like 50 to 100. A couple of others can go from 10 to 100, and others just they seem to be a bit odd, even though they also should be 50 to 100, but they do act a bit differently. Or you potentially have scaled them accidentally already a bit, and then they can't go to 50 again. So it makes the process of scaling the entire building a little bit frustrating if there is like ever so much 10% missing to make it the absolute accurate size you want to go, and then you would need to completely redo it because two pieces or so can't scale to the certain size. So I think at the end of the day, it's better to just build the smallest way possible and then scale up if necessary, rather than the other way around, which I try to. Anyways, that just like was a bit of a kind of experience I wanted to share. And then I went on to put some plants in, which is comparably complicated in this build, because as I said before, this is an area that used to be a big old plaster, like a concrete slab, humongous concrete slab, all harbor area. Potentially only to the outskirts would have been a bit of nature. So everything nature in here would be restored in a way, or not restored is not the right word. I think is kind of man-made. And like, if you've ever followed Bro Nation, I think this is one of the bestest lessons I've ever learned from Mike and Mass Bandit and the whole team around there, is really the nature versus nature kind of lesson. I never really thought about that. Obviously, knowing about this doesn't help making it properly nice if you don't really actively think about this. So basically what it means is nature is nature that has been in place and you build around it. So what has already been there, you build a coaster into a forest that already exists, and then the forest is obviously shaped like a forest organically would have grown, versus nature is a area of nature that has been man-made. So funny enough, the whole Central Park in New York is a nature park, if you will, because the whole thing is built man-made. There's nothing natural in there. It's all been completely done with a plan in mind and intentionally placed stuff. Even the lakes are in places that people wanted them to have them in. So it's not organically grown as nature would have done it itself. So that's the big difference in between. And keeping that in mind, everything you will see mostly in the central area of the park and in the area which used to be the big logistics center of this abandoned harbor area will obviously be nature. And for me personally, that is, I'm not even sure if it's a challenge per se, but I guess it is, because I love to do nature stuff in Planet Zoo, for example, even though, and let's take it with a little bit of salt here, because in Planet Zoo, obviously, most of it would be technically nature as well, but you want to resemble nature as best as you can, and so you would take inspiration by the real nature as you want to do habitats that look the most. While in theme parks, you intentionally create nature to make it look like as nice as possible for the theme park, and The only thing why you would do fake nature instead of nature, I hope it's not going to get too complicated, is obviously if you want to create a themed area after a natural area, for example. But even then you need to consider that, like with a proper coaster and so on going on, you potentially couldn't build it the way you would even be able to with a habitat, because an animal, frankly, is a natural inhabitant of nature, while a coaster is not. It's not that surprising, I guess, but yeah. So speaking about usable buildings, this is another small building that potentially will be reused in one way or the other across the park. And I think for this project, I have to break a little bit with my own philosophy, which is not to reuse things like full buildings. Like what I used to do, obviously a lot, and everyone does, is reuse fence types, just change them up a bit and use them in other areas, reuse lanterns and blah blah blah, because these are pieces that you would realistically have across your park anyways. But like buildings, you wouldn't have twice the same restaurant or twice the same kiosk in a park. Usually you wouldn't, but in a project like that, I think we can break with that rule a little, because even if you want to change things, it could become a bit more cheaper if you say, hey, you know what, just please manufacture 3 pop-up like service counters that look exactly identical. I'm not even speaking about a restaurant yet, because none of these things are proper restaurant. These are all just snack bars or little areas to grab a snack or grab information or like stuff, as you can see over here, which this building over here technically should be a connection to the Flatride, where you can get some info about the Flatride or even get like a photo. And yeah, that's basically it. Now, it all took so much more time than I thought it was, because, I mean, you don't see all the designs I went for. You don't see what has been done in the background to properly align all these things. You don't see all the unnecessary cuts I made, where like, not unnecessary cuts, but like all the cuts I made for stuff that is unnecessary to watch, like me fighting with the pathway or me fighting with certain architectural details that don't quite make it. However, there will be something at the end of the episode that I don't include in the speed build. I will include that in the next speed build for the next episode. Again, I'll talk about that later, but now, as promised, while I'm just placing a bit more nature in here, let me just quickly talk about the next steps in terms of the concept before we will talk about the next steps in the real-time part. So stick with me. It's important, not only to boost my watch time, which is the most important KPI, if you will, on YouTube. By the way, we are now finally doing the styling of our Helter Skelter, which is gonna look fantastic. I really love it, but it's just like a tower design from Hamburg area, but I still like it. Let's quickly talk about the concept versus where I am in this project as of now. If I remember, I'm gonna place the concept, the old concept, in here now, so you do have a comparison to what it looks like. My point is that when I was drawing this, obviously a couple things were different. First of all, my anticipation of a great game with a huge hype in the community and everything around that was super big, and my idea was to have this project the absolute sole project for Planet Coaster 2, and hence being very quick in making progress in this project. So that would have been the concept being realized super quickly, and having had the time to go into a proper concept phase 2, which I didn't have because, the game turned out to be different. The game's reception turned out to be different to what I expected. And honestly, my fun playing only that area here was lesser than I thought it was, because of certain things don't play out the way I hoped they were, starting with not having a proper map I could use for this project, but that's something we need to talk about anyways. And so it appeared that I was a bit slower, but I also had time to invest more time to make it right, which I did. And I'm very happy with the actual status quo of this project. Don't get me wrong, I think this is potentially, overall, theming-wise, like idea, narration-wise, storytelling-wise, my best work so far in the theme park, even with zoos and so on. I really gotta admit, I love it. It's so different, so unique, and everything fits together. And this is exactly the point where I must say it's now time to evolve from the concept. Because in the concept, basically, with the exception of one ride and 1.5 rides, I would say, we're gonna talk about them in the real-time part. I'm gonna show you where exactly they would have been or where they would be, because one of them will still remain. I'm I'm almost done. Like the dive coaster, or not the dive, the tilt coaster already is something new that I wasn't intentionally planning because I was replacing another idea I had in mind. But the location is similar to what I was planning in my mind. And the rest is pretty much exactly the same. You know, the pool area has gone where it was, the main coaster has gone where it is, and the main lake is where it should be, the Helter Skelter is where it should be, and everything around this pretty much turned out exactly the way it should be. And so my vision has now its proof of concept. And now it's time to evolve from that one, go on and make this project what was already in my mind. And this is the beauty of a set piece. Like if you look at a picture, for example, and the best pictures in the world make your head think about what's not in the picture, meaning it's gonna open a world that only you can envision because you see a frame, and beyond the limits of the frame, that's where the imagination starts. And this is exactly what I want to explore now with this project. I want to explore what is behind the curtain, what's outside the frame, what's out of the box basically. And I can't wait to dig into that and have a look to what it is. But now it's time to jump over. I'm gonna first of all show you the area, and then we're gonna talk about the future. I can't wait to show you. I'm super excited about this, so let's do it. Alright, so we are in the game. It's pretty damn crowded because I'm testing also the performance of this park so far. And it's doing good, you know, the coaster's there. Woo, look at that. But that's not what we wanted to look at. So I'm gonna quickly show you the area. So let's go around. So this is the first little building we had over here, as I said. A little bit of a Chief Beef one. I made intentionally like a smaller window, and there is this fake little payment thing, you know, the e-cash kind of thing, you know, contactless payment. I even tried to make like a little contactless sign, but I couldn't get it that small. Like potentially I would be able, Ryzen would certainly be able to, but I was too stupid. And there's this electric box over here to the side, you know, can see that behind here. And then there's this support. I even make like a little gap that the support went in. I kind of like this little detail that the support goes in here and feels like really embedded into here. And the other one will be as well. And there you can see our Helter Skelter, our wonderful slide looking like a proper Hamburg build now, with all the kind of brick texture and the iron stuff to the side. And then you even have this typical kind of what's that, tin roof, or like the, you know, the bluish turquoise vibe on it, because of how it weathered over the time. I forgot what the name is. But yeah, so really pleased with how that turned out. There's someone coming down here. Are you not meant to have like something below your butt? Like, isn't that like, are you sliding on these wooden type of things down? I thought they have a mat or something below their butts, you know. But okay, so this is that. I made like a little bit of a custom fence around here, and if you go to that side, this is unnecessary for the moment being, but there will be like a little vending machine here in the back, so you can grab some stuff, and that's the main idea. And you've got some umbrellas here to give them some shade, and I just love how that all looks and played out. There's a bit of another little queue over here for that carousel thingy, which I will need to dress up a bit more nicely. I wasn't able to finish, but again, we're going to talk about the future in a second. Let's skip around this corner. So this is where you go around. There's also like restrooms over here. The ceiling is intentionally made a little bit higher to give this building the feeling of being a bit taller, to tie in with the like storehouse vibe, you know, from the size. Usually you would do it the other way around, but I feel like this gives the whole house the proper look, I wanted to say, and giving you proper headroom. Doing a bit of nice little planting over here. This is the same queue, and making sure that this area is properly separated from the rest, because if you want to go over, you really gotta have to take that route. And then to the left hand side you have that wonderful view of the coaster passing by. And I gotta have to secure this head area a bit more. There has to be some security netting or so. Or maybe like a little bit of a tunnel vibe over here. I'm gonna do something to secure the people at least. Because, I mean, the head space is okay. It's not like that people could jump and, you know, hold them to the coaster. But it still is very tight. So a proper little bridge kind of thing would be good. So yeah, the coaster is now passing down here, and it's gonna look so amazing. I really love that. And let's just wait for that and follow the coaster then around. That movement is so good. So there you go, going around and then passing by over your head. Woo! Gosh, that gives me just so much joy, and people enjoy it as well, as you've seen. And then if you turn around, I like this look as well. The walls are also intentionally higher to the left-hand side. As you can see, a bit more security for the coaster. You don't want them to be jumping over there just like that. And the right-hand side, it can be lower, just to give people a bit more push. Then I found this kind of wonderful plant. You can recolor that one, so I made it a bit more green to tie in with the greens a bit more. And then also with a pine tree, or like not pine tree, it was a Scots pine, there you go, in this region. And this whatever ride that is, it's not even opened yet. I should have opened that, but then you would have even more traffic in this. So I think I closed it because I wanted to get traffic off this area a bit more. But yeah, some seating areas to make it feel a bit more natural. Obviously some planters to break with the concrete a little. And then we're gonna go back here in a second, but there you have also this other shelter. I love these blinds, which I think they're not even blinds, but I think they act pretty nicely. Should have done a bit of a shelf in the background. Did not. Excuse me, how? Huh? That makes no sense at all. There are barriers below here, and this is just cosmetic, okay? And you do just like crash through a building. Why would you do that? Okay, never mind. You're gonna go around here, and then once you enter, there's a bit of a tight area here, but Game! What is going on? Oh gosh. So we're gonna get in this into this area, and this is where all things now start to pan out. This looks so fantastic. Look at this. Oh, I love this. I love this little seating still below that staircase. It's so good. Almost, I want to call it the Harry Potter seating because it's under the stairs, you know. But then I also have like little shops over here, and the fun bit is these things are like barriers, and then people can go in here and don't queue up that dramatically. Could also be that it completely broke. The fact that they can go there, maybe this area is too tight, but most of the times it does the job pretty fine. So if that just broke with the system a little, I'm gonna push this a bit farther back. But yeah, these fences are custom made obviously, and I'll put them on the workshop, as I said, as well. Same goes for, like, I don't need this clock. I don't know if you guys want this clock or not, but I'll put this there anyways. And then we've got a custom lamppost, and I put all these railings around our trees here as well. But that's not all. If we go around, you have like a bit of an exit area here. I put all these barriers in to make sure that not everything is too crazy. And what I wanted to do, but I did not do it yet, is like to put some custom kind of toppings and so on here. So you've got some mustard, and I hate the fact that they can go through these. It seemingly they can go through these shop fronts, which is so stupid that they can. Oh, hold on. There is a contactless payment option on the actual cashier stuff. Haven't seen that one. Okay, well, I like mine too, okay? But yeah, if we look around, there's one more thing I did. So there's another kiosk over here, but I also made this wonderful section over here of a custom vending machine, and I put some seating areas next to this building. And I think as simple as it is, as great it does look. I really love that. And you even have these like lights below here that looks really cool in the nighttime as well, having the light come from below that seating area. I'm gonna definitely use this bench idea throughout the entire project, and I'm very happy about the fact that the game offers the chance now to do these things way more simple by having you know, all the benches and so on, as it was already in Planet Zoo, a bit more free to place, and just really like the fact. And we do have this very simple bench. Where is it? Do I have an example of that one? I think that was the one I had over here in the back. Let's just go. Yeah, there you go. This one is so simple, that is so easy to just kind of theme, that I'm always using that. The only kind of downside is that it's slightly bent to the front, and people seemingly do use that. And well, actually no, you know what? They're actually going to glitch into this bench either, so the hitbox seems to be the exact same. Whatever. And then the last thing I did, it's not like, honestly, it's not big. It's just like putting a bit of a nice fencing around here to tidy it up a little. But yeah, this was, as little as it looks, this was hilariously much to do. That was a ton of work. And I'm going to show you exactly why, and this is where we are going to talk about the future of this project. So, hold on. I'm going to disable this one. So this is the area that it looks like now. Really am very, very pleased. We can make like a little flyover in here. Hold on, just going to do this. And let's just quickly drag the mouse here. There you go. I'm going to do a little flyover of this new region while I'm going to talk about this. So, it was such an odd area to work with because I basically slapped everything in here, and you've seen the concept a couple of minutes earlier, and it was exactly the area that was cut to the top, so it was only half-ish in, and everything I had, I just slapped this in here. The only idea I had was this slide, and the rest was like whatever I'm gonna do. But I'm very pleased with how it turned out. I'm very pleased with how this region looks really like a proper theme park right now, and how it all seems to be working. I am a big fan of this entire look. And also, if you go down with all the cranes and stuff in the background, it just looks absolutely like a harbor area, and this is the immersion I was going for. If you're looking at this like so, there is no idea that you're not in a harbor area. Like, look at everywhere you look, feels, smells, I mean, does it smell fishy? But it smells like a harbor area, and this is what I wanted to achieve. And now, as for the next parts, the next future episodes, I'm gonna call this the 3 next episodes, okay? Because I feel like I'm not sure if there are going to be 3 or more, but the 3 major parts I want to do. Part number 1 is I'm gonna do the exact same thing I did to this area to this area over here. So this part is going to receive the same love in the next episode, because I have a very certain idea about this area. It's not going to take as much time as this over here did, because I can actually use a couple of things I established in here. I will be able to use them here too, so that's going to make the whole process a lot quicker. Whilst I'm doing this, maybe I'm going to do it in this episode, or I'm just going to slapping it in between. I'm going to tidy up this region here a bit more, because as you can see, people are still clipping through all these containers, and what I eventually will end up doing is I'm gonna put a like a bit of a broader barrier area around this, not as like precise as needed, because I don't want them to go through here anyways. And as this is like very bare bones and so on, I'm potentially going to create a bit of a restaurant in here. So this might actually be the focus part of then that area. You can see there is this thing in here with the secure stuff, but I imagine if this thing is going to be turned into a restaurant, yes, it's obviously going to be a very loud restaurant eventually when the coaster is coming through, but theme parks do this and people don't mind, because they're in the theme park and there are like a bajillion kids around anyway, so it's not gonna be quiet and comfy anyway. So I think the chance of this being a proper restaurant area is pretty damn high. However, I can see this becoming an episode on its own as well, because I am thinking, and you can comment what you think about this idea, but I'm thinking that this could receive not only the restaurant being here, I'm thinking about something like a sun terrace kind of thing that is overhanging the river, as you would have in these regions quite often, like having this a bit raised and then just having some picnic tables on that one, which certainly would be part of the restaurant, so you could get some takeaway stuff and put it here. I feel like this could be a very cool idea, and then we could also have some self-service displays or whatsoever in this planter, so that could tie this area in. But again, that's just like a minor idea for making this area good, because obviously, as you can see, this pool area is way too powerful, and I'm not entirely sure how I'm gonna end up fixing this, but yeah, so maybe I'm gonna close the whole ship down eventually to lead them back into the park, but as of now I'm gonna leave it as is. So that's being the first bigger part. Now the second part is obviously this area. As you've seen in the concept, the initial coaster was planned to go from that building into that building, which none of both happened, because I then eventually came up with the idea of making the tilt coaster go into the crane, which I think was the best way to go for anyways. So what I'm going to end up doing is I do take the second idea I had in mind, and this is going to become reality in the next episode, is this area is becoming a type of ride, and let's just enable the UI again. It's going to be a tracked ride, but I'm still debating with myself if it's going to be a go-kart ride, which is that one, or if it's going to be a classic antique powered cars ride, which the antique powered cars ride would fit certainly in this area quite nicely in terms of having a bit of a historic touch. But then again, the carts would also be very fun to style them going over like a proper abandoned harbor area with like fake keys and so on, where they go over. And I don't know, I like the idea. You can comment what you think would be better, because certainly I'm not going to start tonight, and also not the day this is going to be released. So you can actually comment what you would favor in here. So either the cars or the carts, which really I'm looking forward to. If there was going to be a bit more of a modern ride, and I'm not sure if this is a thing in the future, but like, oh, let's actually have a look. I think riders take a trip back in time as they travel longer track antique style cars. I remember we had this with modern style cars as well, so I'm guessing there is no ability to change the car, so I'm not even trying at this point. Potentially we're going to get this back with the fixes. So that's going to be this area. That's going to be this area. And the next area is going to be, and this is going to be interesting, because I'm going to fix this, by the way, in the meantime. This hall over here is not going to be used, at least not now. If I feel like having the urge to do something in the future, I'm not. But we are going to have a certain dark ride in this area, which is going to be thematically themed, and this is what I meant earlier. In the main harbor area, we are going to follow this generic harbor theme, but within these halls, we could have certain themes. I don't want to call this coaster over here having a theme, but looking into, hold on, where are the actual windows though? Wait, is that, wait, where's this? Oh my god. I made them so nice that I didn't even see it at the first glance. Hey, props to me. That was good work, Rudi. Okay, so this one obviously is lightly styled after like being a storage building, but apparently this is harbor style anyway. So yeah, just it doesn't make sense to call this particularly themed. But in this building, we will have something themed because we can, I guess, and it's gonna be good. So yeah, also getting rid of the UI again. You can see 8,500 people in here. I tested that, and the capacity went up to like 11,000. And as you can tell, performance-wise, there's no issue, which is super good to see, and I can't wait. Also, because everyone will ask, I am running at the moment on the, hold on, where is that? On the TAA, so I'm not even using the DLSS, and the DLSS would give you, or the FSR as well, but both of them will give you a way better performance. So at the moment, I'm just using that. I mean, obviously I'm not playing 4K, so maybe for 4K I will have to use it, but seeing that in full HD, performing that well with that many guests, with that many rides and stuff going on already, with that many builds, I'm positively surprised by this game, at least when it comes to the performance. So yeah, very long episode today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and you can potentially tell from this episode that I'm quite enjoying myself in this game. I know I am talking a lot about this game. I am criticizing this game a lot because I want it to become better. I talked about what I think needs to happen to make people get back into the game. But overall, I personally am enjoying this game. With all its quirks, with all its problems, you can get around this with a proper vision, and technically also with a bit of ignorance. You do need to ignore certain things. You need to ignore the guest navigation for certain parts. You need to ignore that certain things just don't work the way you want them to be at this moment. But eventually we're gonna get there. So this is the promise. Wait, hold on, is this queue completely full? I've never seen a queue. Whoa, look at that. Sorry, I've been interrupted by that. That is so freaking cool. Hold up. It's entirely filled. Oh my god, that is so freaking cool. I'm just happy because I've never seen this. Oh my god, why is there like a hold up. Let me just put that in the backyard here. Why was that floating in here? I'm not sure. So again, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed it a lot. And do me a favor, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to subscribe. Also, if you have been subscribed and YouTube decided to unsubscribe, please double check if you're still subscribed, because apparently that's something YouTube loves to do at the beginning of a year to clean up some, I don't know what they're doing, and then in the cleanup they end up cleaning also accounts you're constantly following. So make sure to double check, that would help me out as always. And again, you know the drill. If you like the video, like it. If you want to support more, you can become member. So big thanks to all members of the channel. We will get back into putting your member names into the next episode. Just a little reminder, you guys will have your thing in here, but there is a very good reason to why I didn't do it this time around. So you'll be back in. It still is a good idea to become a member if you can, because you will be part of the project. Just I'm gonna slightly change things up a little bit. More about that next episode. So yeah, not more to say. Thank you so much as always, guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful time, and I talk to you in the next one.